Nice to see you all. This is for three of us. One of my deepest concerns with Bill C-5 is that it would grant Cabinet for a period of at least 5 years sweeping authority to fast-track projects deemed to be in the national interest based on a broad and non-binding list of criteria. Among those criteria are the interests of Indigenous peoples, but the legislation makes clear that these are discretionary, not mandatory. This creates a framework in which Indigenous rights could be treated as optional or subordinated entirely, particularly if a government invokes a so-called compelling and substantial public purpose, such as economic development as a jurisdiction. Are you concerned that this bill risks giving both current and future governments the legal latitude to approve major projects without meaningfully upholding the duty to consult, accommodate, or obtain consent from Indigenous nations? Whoever would like to start.
Perhaps I'll start. Thanks for the question. I was in this building in committee a number of times on S13, which is a bill that passed in the last government in relation to the Interpretation Act. It was the insertion of a universal non-derogation clause. We don't see a non-derogation clause within this legislation based on, I believe, that good work. And so I would hope that the government wouldn't imagine that it can ignore and infringe upon our constitutional rights based on a piece of legislation. If that is its intent, there will be incredible opposition in all forms from those affected. The challenge that we are finding as Inuit with this bill is that we want to support it. We are in agreement on the objectives. We want to stand with all other Canadians and build our economy and to build one economy and to build major nation-building infrastructure projects. But the words that are meant to be inclusive of Inuit or of Indigenous peoples broadly seems like they're just thrown around as if they don't have meaning. And the problem is that they have incredibly deep meaning within the fabric of the Constitution, the Supreme Court, and the legislative status of these terms in Canada. And that's, I think, where we're running afoul of our shared intent.
Thank you. Person over, National Chief.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. Look, I just say that we need some more time. First Nations need more time. We need time to meet. We need time to go through this legally and properly and ethically and politically, and we need a time to have a conversation amongst each other, and we haven't had that time. We will be meeting, as our leadership will be meeting September 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We were to meet July, in the midst of July, but because of the forest fires, we had to make sure we weren't taking up hotel rooms, and our leadership stepped up and said, can we move that to September? And, thankfully, because we think of each other. And in this moment, I ask you all to think of many of those people that haven't had time, that this is going to affect their rights, that we give them this summer to, many of our chiefs are fighting wildfires, and we ask for time. And we're not asking for a lot. I think, we've been down this road before, and I think if we give ourselves time to talk with each other and debate and discuss and talk about amendments or, whatever people, maybe some people don't like this bill altogether, but we haven't even had that conversation. Let's respect each other. Thank you.
Well, I come from a different perspective on this. My position, as I said, my government has had a lot of discussion on this around the table, and we're talking towards the future, and people should come to the realization, as Indigenous governments, as a Métis government, we don't just sit and talk about our issues or what we need or what is going to make things better for us. We look at the country, we look at the province, and we ask ourselves, where does this country stand, and where's the country at? This country is already facing some financial crisis right now as we now speak without Trump getting involved. That we know. This country is in deficit and is trying to fight its way out of it, but it's going to potentially find itself in a greater financial challenge in the very near future if things don't change. So we've asked ourselves the question around cabinet, how do we do our part? I agree 100% with the concerns you hear from the Grand Chief and from the President, Natan, that the trust that's being asked of us to be saying give up now some potential aspects of the methodology of how we've learned or got to so far in this country when it comes to consultations, when it comes to partnerships, when it comes to inclusion of the Indigenous people. You look at procurement. Procurement was announced over 20 years ago in this country. Procurement is finally making some headway in the last probably 5 years, and it's changing the economy per scale from our people and giving us opportunities to get jobs and create companies and form opportunities of competition. But now we're looking at a time where time may not be there. That's what our cabinet's talking about. Is time an issue of concern that should be concerned that by all? Our position is yes. You know, when World War I came, World War II, it didn't come, you know, it just came out of the blue. It came very quickly, and all of a sudden we had to amass our people. We come into our villages and communities to ask us to volunteer in great numbers, which we did. And so, but we fought for a country we believed in. And now we're at a state in our history where we're under threat. We can't take these rhetoric of this madman from the South lightly. His actions is crumbling his own economy. You could see it happening. And it's going to get worse instead of better. So he's going to have to blame somebody. He's sure as hell going to blame us, our neighbor. He blamed us for fentanyl when there's, what, 1% of the fentanyl trade going through. So when you start looking at time, we're asking ourselves, we need to place trust again. We need to have trust. But you heard the question from the Yukon senator stating it doesn't take rocket science for them to put a proper consultation process written in form so we can understand, and private sector, the government, everybody understands. That should be easily done. Establishing this First Nation, Métis, Inuit advisory body, that could be done overnight by sitting down with the leaders and coming to a term. How would that work? What authority it has? Is just adversary? For being applied as giving advice, or is it going to have authority and powers? So it can be done. There's got to be more done for sure in the context of government coming in for more clarity. That for sure. But from our side, we're watching very carefully, and I'm worried about the economy of this country, because if that economy is not working well, I know damn well my people are going to suffer. I know damn well they're going to cut programs that we took decades to get to. We took decades to get housing. The first time we had housing in probably 40, 50 years. We just got it about 7 years ago. Now it's going to be gone. We finally got money for education for our kids, $5,000 for bursary on our universities. Is that going to be gone now? We just started to invest into the future of our people, and it could be all at risk by what's happening right now. So time is of essence, yes, but trust is everything. So if they want us to be given our full support to it, give us something more clearly in place that can be done by a stroke of the Prime Minister. That can be done quite quickly. So let's get that done, but time is not on our side, I'll tell you that.